What's going on, folks? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. If you clicked on this video, you obviously need a recap, and you are in the best place possible because I took some really great notes on last night's episode, and I think that surely I can help you at least envision what took place. All right, so here we go. This episode starts off with Michael, and Michael instantly knows that something is wrong when he sees Alyssa. So we didn't really know how Michael would take to things. We know that Michael is a master player, and he pretty much can see the game like we see it, the viewers. And upon seeing Alyssa, he immediately knows that something is wrong. All right. Turner is happy Jasmine goes home. So again, we are greeted with the fact that the house is coming back together. And as we can expect or could expect, Turner is happy to see that Jasmine is out of the game. Taylor feels the pain of Joseph's departure. We knew this was coming as well. We knew that Taylor would be a little upset with the fact that Joseph left the game without her being able to say goodbye. And she breaks down. She breaks down in tears. I was a little surprised to see Taylor's reaction to Joseph leaving the game. She cried as if he had passed away, but in actuality, he had just left the game. He went to jury. But her reaction was much more dramatic than I expected. All right. Taylor will win this season. Mark my words. So there's a point in this episode where I realized that Taylor may very well win this season. I'm not sure if I really feel that way or if I just felt that way in the moment. But I will say this. I felt that way in the moment. It was some things that took place, some subconscious, subliminal things that took place where I said, you know what? She is in the prime position to win this game. And you know what? I actually stand on that. I feel like Taylor will win this game. Now it's funny because she has become a target again, but we know what happens when Taylor becomes a target. Remember, six people targeted Taylor, and those exact six people left the game. Let that marinate for a while. All right, Alyssa's talk with Michael shows she trying to keep after party a secret. So Alyssa does talk to Michael, and as you know, Michael is very keen on the game, and he understands things that we as viewers understand. And I think that is the power of being a super fan. Being a super fan simply means you know what it feels like to watch the game, and if you're in the game, you know what's taking place because you've seen it so many times. Michael makes that very clear. Alyssa tries to keep the after parties alliance a secret, pretty much like everyone else does, blaming everything on Joseph. All right. Turner is aligned with everyone. So in this episode, we find out just how crazy Turner's game is. And I didn't quite realize this before viewing this episode, but it's pretty clear. Turner is aligned with everyone. He's on both sides of the house. You have the leftovers who still believe in him at this point in this episode. You also have, the pound. Is it called the pound? All right, because I barely paid attention to that alliance, but apparently it matters. You have the pound, and then of course you have the after parties, and as such, Turner is square in the middle of this game, and it becomes very clear this episode. Monty is staying true to leftovers despite what's in front of his eyes. So in this episode, Monty says a lot of things which leads you to believe that he is not clearly paying attention to the cues. If you're in this game, there are things that are taking place, and you know, Joseph being out of the game is a huge cue. I mean, I feel like if I'm in the game, and because you don't really know all of the secret things that are taking place, the only thing that you really have are the cues. You have things that defy logic and things that defy, you know, your own biases. And seeing Joseph out of the game should have been a cue that, hey, Monty, something has changed. You can't be so naive to think that this game is going to go exactly how you expected it to go from top to bottom. So when you see Joseph is gone, you have to be a little more intelligent about, your moves moving forward. The same thing can be said about Daniel and Nicole and all those players who exited early in this game. They thought they were in control of the house, but the cues were there, and they just did not follow those cues. And in this episode, we see Monty fall in the same line in which he's just ignoring things that are right in front of his face. And as such, he is completely gun ho for the Leftovers Alliance. All right. Terrence is staying tight lipped, blaming Joseph for everything. Taylor is confused, smells something fishy. A common and reoccurring theme of this episode was everyone blaming everything on Joseph. And because BB Brochella was not outside to see what actually took place, they have no other choice but to believe. And of course, people like Taylor, players like Michael, they smell something in the air. They know that they don't know what took place, but they also know Joseph. They know Joseph well enough or knew him well enough to know that he wouldn't have done these things, the things that he's being accused of. And as such, smart players, good players are starting to say, wait a minute, 2 and 2 don't add up. And something more is at foot. And Taylor certainly is one of the first players to point that out. All right, I got my main man, King J, bruh. Where are your subscribers at? I don't know, King J, man. I have to. I'll put it this way. I am a normal person. I have a normal life. I got, real kids, a real wife, a real, real things taking place. I got 10 businesses. If I can be honest with you, I don't have time to cater to what you might call subscribers. I just don't have time to do that. Um, actually have a YouTube like channel. So Vidmondo, that's the name of that channel. I have a whole YouTube like. I'm basically a competitor of YouTube, if you can call it that. So with respects to YouTube, I don't have time to try to gain YouTube subscribers and followers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, quite frankly, I have a whole channel. So for anybody hearing this, go to vidmondo.com. And I know when you get there, you'll see that it has not been developed quite the way that it should be. But the point is, when you're creating something that has not been created, in my case, Vidmondo, there are some times in which, things don't, it's a grind, it's work. And a lot of people are afraid of work. I'm not, so, rather than build my subscribers on YouTube, I have dedicated my craft to building my followership on my own website. So, King J, I hope that answers your question, man. It's just, I'm more focused on my own legacy rather than YouTube's legacy. All right, back to it. Brittany asks if anything has changed. Kyle immediately blames Joseph. So Brittany does bring Kyle in, and she's trying to pick and prod because the BB Rochella side of things is trying to understand, hey, what is going on? Can you give us any insight? How did Joseph go home? And you'll notice that Kyle in this episode tries his best to, deceive Brittany. And like everybody else does, he blames everything on Joseph. All right. Michael can tell Kyle is lying because Michael is such a super fan of the show and also such a great player in his own right. He immediately can smell something fishy, much like Taylor can. And he points out the fact that Kyle has to be deceiving the group, and he makes the counter plays to make sure he doesn't get swallowed up. And also, King J, and because your question is ringing in my mind, I do appreciate that comment because what it show, or at least what it tells me, is that you feel as if I should have more. But a funny story: I am shadow banned across like all social media because I am a anti-thinker. I don't necessarily fall in line with a lot of people. Some people call other individuals sheep. All right, they call them sheeps as a result of them just kind of going along with the get along. I would probably be the exact opposite of that. As you can tell, rather than go along with what the crowd is doing, I'm usually looking the other way. And as such, I've been like recognized as a threat, as a problem across all social media. If you go to my Instagram, if you go to my Facebook, if you go to my TikTok, you'll notice that I'm pretty much shadow banned across the board. But I actually enjoy being shadow banned because it's like being a rebel. And even though I'm shadow banned, people still find me somehow, much like you did, King J. So, hey, I take it as a compliment that you were able to find me, one, and two. that you're listening to the content and you're noticing that, hey, this is not terrible. It should be a lot lesser. But that's kind of what it is, man. Sometimes you just get ranked as a rebel across these social media websites, and as such, you know, when I drop my videos, King J, they go straight to the basement of YouTube. So you really just gotta know I'm alive. You gotta know I'm out here to even find my videos in the first place. I'll put it like this, King J. This is what I always say. I always say that the right people find me. If you're meant to find me, you will. It's like a treasure. I'm like a treasure. I'm a treasure on YouTube, if you can call it that. And I'm trying to say that as humbly as possible. I'm like a treasure, man. Not everybody's going to find me. Not everybody's going to know I'm even doing this content. But those who do find me, I always consider them to be intelligent, smart, chosen, and the right people that I need to be talking with. So I'll leave it at that and I won't go further. All right. So the HOH competition was a micro stacking competition. So let's get back to the game. I'm a little off task a little bit. So we get back to the HOH competition, and you'll notice that, and actually I saw this trending across my Facebook groups, and they were saying that this was the perfect competition for Taylor. So a lot of people thought that Taylor would win this competition. And I will go on record as saying I admit that I thought Kyle would win this competition. If you watched the competition live, then you saw several times where Kyle almost won the competition. So I was like, I got this. I got this in the bag. I knew I was right. But that is not what happens. Turner, of all people, wins the competition. All right. Turner wins HOH. He's a two-time HOH. And that was pretty awesome to see that. Kyle states that he's allies. What is my writing is terrible. Brittany says that if she becomes HOH, she won't. Oh, she would. I don't know what that says. Michael feels that Terrence and Alyssa should go up next, given that a leftover one. So you'll also notice that a lot of the leftovers members are still under the influence that Turner, Kyle, they're still leftovers. So you kind of cringe a little bit when you're watching this competition or this episode in general, as the leftovers are clearly behind the eight ball. They're clearly out of the know. It's almost like Michael and who else was it? It was Michael and players like Brittany, Taylor, even Monty. It was kind of like when I was watching them, I was like, they sound like me when everybody else is seeing the live feeds. I'm always like a few steps behind everybody else because I don't watch the live feeds. That's what happened. That's what it seemed like when I was watching the competitions, because they did not see what took place outside. They were just like, they were talking in past tense, even though they were talking in the present. They were clearly out of the know. They didn't recognize certain cues that took place in the game that most of us knew about because we are privy to several points in the game. So they were a little out of touch, and you saw that in this episode. All right. Turner talks with Taylor about Joseph. So in this episode, Turner is doing his rounds after he wins HOH, and he's just basically trying to muddy the waters a little bit. Just like everybody else in this episode, Alyssa, Kyle, just like everybody else, Turner blames everything on Joseph, the entire fallout. And I was happy to see that because, as you know, I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to Big Brother. I'm more or less focused on good gameplay. Look, I don't care if Terrence wins. If he plays the right game and he wins, I'm not going to have any pushback on that. People get way too emotionally invested in these players. You got to respect good gameplay, man. At what point does good gameplay take second or a back seat to a emotional favorite? It's fine to have your favorite, but you also have to respect good gameplay. Let me tell you, Vince Carter is one of my favorite players. He's second behind Michael Jordan in my personal favorite list of basketball players. But you think I'm going to put him above Kobe Bryant? Not even close, because I recognize Kobe Bryant is a better player. So you just got to know, hey, you got your favorites, but you also have to respect the game of Big Brother itself. It's a reason why it's made it 24 seasons. It's because, it's about strategy. So yeah, that happens. And, I keep it pushing when it comes to that. Turner feels pressure of being in two alliances. So in this episode, you'll see Turner just go through a interconflict of being in the leftovers and also being in the after party. And a lot of people are upset with Turner, and that is the theme of this episode. How do you feel about Turner at this point? Look, everybody loves Turner. I'm included in that bunch. I thought he was pretty amazing earlier on, and I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about him now. He has made a heel turn. If you are familiar with wrestling, then you understand that phrase heel turn, when your favorite player just kind of starts just doing evil things. Turner is making a heel turn, and it's funny because this is not scripted like a WWE, but Turner is certainly making it very difficult for some people who have enjoyed his squeaky clean image, that nice guy image. He's certainly making it difficult for people to continue to support him because of that image. He's making some interesting decisions, okay? And I think that a lot of people are struggling to continue to support him. So the question remains, if you can let me know in the chat, are you still supporting Turner's game? Do you still feel the same way you felt about Turner? And in posing that question, I'll be the first one to answer it. Turner has lost a little bit for me. As I told you, I'm not biased and I respect good gameplay. In this case, it is so hard to continue to like Turner because I just felt so good about the leftovers. I was going to do an episode about who's better, the leftovers versus the cookout. Not even worthy of doing at this point. They collapsed a little bit early, but that's just my own bias. I wanted them to be better than the cookout, but it turns out they were not. And when it comes to Turner, though I do appreciate his gameplay, it just hurts to see the leftovers break down this way. I was hoping that they would get to the top 7 rather, and battle it out like OGs. But this is kind of it got a stench that I'm not familiar with. I'm not happy with, if I can be completely transparent. All right, Caillou and Turner have a final 2. This episode reveals something that I had no idea that happened, but apparently somewhere in the beginning of the game, Caillou and Turner make a final 2 deal, and it was just man, it was so confusing to see that. And for Turner, I was thinking to myself, hey Turner, are you really that? Do you think that Caillou will honor that final 2? I don't know about you, but if you've been watching Big Brother for some time, showmasters, they dominate the game. And I don't know any player. This will indefinitely be the first showmans to take second place to a final 2 that I've ever seen. Most showmasters dominate the male's decisions, whether it be Brandon and Rachel. I mean, you name it. Typically, the male in the showmans does anything he can for the woman in the showmans. And I'm sorry if that sounds bad, but that's just what I've seen, and I call it like I see it. So I don't know if Turner makes the right decision in this case. All right, to rock and roll with Kyle. All right, Turner suggests nominating Alyssa and Terrence. Kyle hates the idea. So maybe that is why Turner agrees with Kyle to this whole final 2 concept, because in his heart he may actually believe that Kyle is playing a open and honest game, that the showmatch takes second place to him and Kyle's final 2. But immediately after Turner suggests putting up Alyssa and Terrence, Kyle in his diary room confessions points out why he just can't let that happen, which in my opinion, um it adds more leverage to the point that I was making. Kyle has no intention of taking Turner to the final 2. And you can quote me on that. You can write that down in cement for all I care. I don't see any scenario if it comes down to a final 3 of Kyle, Alyssa, and Turner. Do you actually think that Kyle is going to take Alyssa? I'm sorry, that Kyle's going to actually take Turner over Alyssa? Can somebody let me know what they think about that? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a man myself. Let me tell you something. The woman is a very powerful being when it comes to a man. All right. Look, there's not many things that a man would choose over a woman. And that's just being very open with you. Look, I don't see it happening. Bromance, friendship, call it what you may. I don't see Kyle taking Turner over Alyssa. I just don't see it happening. All right, the after party knows that Michael is due. Oh my gosh. So if you're a fan of Michael, then this had to be a very terrifying point in this episode, because you realize that Michael's days are numbered. We told Michael to stop winning. We told him to stop winning, and he just didn't do it, did he? Xavier knew this. Derek knew this. All the great BB players knew that you can't just run through the competitions, and you don't do it. So Michael may meet the same fate as a Janelle. See, Janelle has the same trait as well, where she completely ignores logic when it comes to winning competitions. She won everything, and Michael won everything too. And you'll note that Janelle struggles to go as far as she deserves to go in the game with BB because she doesn't know how to turn the switch off. And at one point, the After Parties Alliance makes it very clear that they have a plan to backdoor Michael. And if you're a Michael fan, much like myself, you feel real bad when you hear that because you know that there's not much of an opportunity for Michael to survive. Now, don't quote me on that because I know a lot of people are watching the live feeds and they know that Mike, by this point, who knows? Michael has already won a veto competition. I don't know. But I'm saying in real time that it's not looking good for him. If he is not selected in the what do you call it, the veto competition, and the wrong person wins, he's going up on the block and he's going home. Everybody knows that Michael will win this game if he doesn't go home, and that sucks. Okay, that's what it is. All right, the leftovers meet what happened to Joseph. So there's a meeting with the leftovers. They want to know what happened to Joseph. They are very skeptical about what took place. They're not quite buying into what the After Parties Alliance, who they have no idea exists. They're not buying into that notion that they don't really, it was all Joseph's fault. Like I said, it's just not adding up. Taylor told Joseph that she, Michael, and Brittany had a final three. They wanted to include Joseph, but he declined. Wow. Okay. So we find out in this episode that Joseph let some things spill, and or I should say allegedly. Turner lets the house know, or at least some individuals in the house know, that Joseph revealed the final three deal between Michael, Brittany, and Taylor, and that is the reason he goes home. I have to say, good gameplay. Using that information, knowing that the other side of the house has no idea whether or not it's true or false. I got to call a spade a spade. That's smart gameplay. And they took something that was factual, and because it was partly factual, the other side of the house believed it. Hey, Mike, yeah, there was a final three between Michael, Brittany, and Taylor. So, having access to that information makes them buy into it. Smart move, in my opinion. All right, Monty exposes hidden alliance, Michael, Brittany, and Taylor to Turner. So at this point, Monty does something that we are not, well, I shouldn't say we. I kind of expected this from Monty. Monty has been doing these type of things since the beginning of the game, and that is just being very malleable. And when I say that, I mean not standing strong on any particular surface. And I don't want that to sound like a criticism because this is the game of Big Brother. If you play the same exact way, you'll become a dinosaur. I think Michael is about to become a dinosaur. You have to be very malleable. You have to switch and change with the game. I know a lot of people hate Kyle right now, or at least they did. But Kyle made a maneuver that was perfectly timed. And when you make those kinds of moves, what happens is you stay alive. All right. You have somebody on this planet right now, it's probably just one person, who still argues against the car in favor of the horse. Right. And that's what happens here. So Monty makes some adjustments. He realizes that, hey, cars are the next best thing. Let me get off this horse because if not, I'll become a dinosaur. And Monty starts to pivot. And for all intents and purposes, he becomes a fifth member of the After Parties Alliance. All right. Turner feels betrayed by Hidden Alliance and wants to work with Monty to the end. Kyle and Alyssa talk geography. There was a point in this episode that was kind of cringe for me. Look, I'll be the first one to say it. I am not a big fan of the Kyle and Alyssa romance in show. I hate it. I hate it. Every time it comes on the screen, I'm like, can we get this off the screen, please? And you know what it is for me? I think it's because I'm getting older, and the older I get, the less patience I have for like young love because it's so blind and so like goofy. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it happens where Kyle and Alyssa are talking about geography, and apparently, or I should say, as you might expect, Alyssa plays the clueless role. Much like her game in BB. I know I'm going to take some some pushback on that, but I'm not a big fan of Alyssa's game. I'm sorry, I'm just not, and I don't want to hide that. I'm not a big fan of her gameplay. All right, Turner feels. Oh yeah, Monty joins after party unknowingly. So Monty after, kind of revealing some things that the leftovers had kept secret for such a long time to the After Parties Alliance, for all intents and purposes, he becomes an After Parties member. He doesn't know it, but he's in it. It's almost like Terrence for the leftovers. At one point, Terrence was so close to the leftovers that you look at him as a plus one. And that same thing happens in this episode where he's basically Monty I'm speaking about. He becomes a plus one. He's doing everything that the After Parties Alliance wants him to do. He's giving out information. He's sharing secrets from the leftovers. He's saying negative things about the leftovers. And at that point, you just say, hey, he's a plus one. Good job, buddy. I mean, you joined the showmans, Terrence and Kyle. Let's see how that turns out. Monty notes that the leftovers are over, states that he's all about the pound. So let me correct myself just slightly. There's a 4-person alliance called the pound. Whew, yeah, that happens. Yeah, and you may know this if you've watched the live feeds, if you've been paying better attention than I have. But there is a alliance of 4, and don't quote me on this because yeah, memory is scarce with this one. But apparently, at some point, Monty, Joseph, Kyle, and Turner created a 4-person alliance, and Monty, for whatever reason, is staying true to it. Can't make that up. All right, but anyway, Kyle admits to being willing to sacrifice any alliance to save his game. So let me paint this picture for you. In this episode, Michael says some things which suggests that he is willing to do anything to win this game. And the question becomes, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about him saying that he would sacrifice any alliance? And by him saying that, do you also think, or do you think that that also includes Alyssa? When I ask a question, perhaps it's best that I answer it first. Yeah, he'll sacrifice anything but Alyssa because he's not stupid. All right. Alyssa is his insurance. If he loses this game, at the very least, he's found the love of his life. So I don't think he sacrifices Alyssa for anything, that including Turner. All right. All right. Turner is willing to sacrifice leftovers. Pretty obvious, right? Turner puts up Taylor and Brittany. So we fast forward to the nominations and we see Turner put up Taylor and Brittany. And wow. Anybody, and I'm speaking specifically about Michael, anybody who is still confident in the leftovers, and perhaps I'm talking about the viewers as well, you're clearly missing the cues here. The leftovers are officially gone. They've been eaten. All right. And you know who ate them? Kyle. Kyle ate the leftovers. Anybody still pulling for the leftovers after watching this episode? I would make the argument that they're not paying attention. The leftovers are done. And it sucks. I know. I don't want to let them go either. But I have to because there's a new dominant alliance. I always said whoever won Sunday's competition would dominate the game, whether that had been on the leftover side or the after party side. Because the after parties win, game over for the leftovers. It's that simple. All right. Turner blames nominees on Joseph in a hidden final 3. So Turner shows a stroke of genius with his nomination of Taylor and Brittany. Now, the novice HOH would say, I don't like you two. You two suck. And you got here by riding coat. That's what a novice would do. But Turner shows some real strategy or strategic acumen here by saying, look, the reason you two are on the block is because you have a hidden deal with Michael and Joseph, right? And Joseph being out of this game, and the reason why he got voted out of the game, we're going to continue the breakdown of this foursome. So as such, we're going to put up Brittany and Taylor. And it goes without saying the backdoor option is Michael. So great job on Turner's part being unbiased. I am a little, concerned about this heel turn that Turner has taken. And, sometimes heels shine brightest, right? The Rock, if you watch WWE, which you probably don't, but The Rock, before he was an actor, he was a good guy, shiny and bubbly. But it wasn't until he turned heel that he completely shined. Sometimes being a bad guy just makes people, it creates more emotion. When people are emotionally invested in you, for whatever reason, though they hate your guts, they care more. And Turner has certainly made a heel turn, in my opinion. But I made note here, and I've already stated this, but I'll say it again. The leftovers are dead. Okay. And I don't want to be too graphic here, so I'll say they've been eaten. Okay. Michael is worried and knows that Turner is lying. If Michael isn't picked for Veto, he's gone. All right. So that's my last note here. And let me elaborate. Michael recognizes that by Brittany and Taylor being on the block, that his days are numbered. Unless two things happen, or one of two things happen. Number one being he's picked for the veto, and number two being after being picked for the veto, he wins it. If Michael is either or neither picked for the veto or wins the veto, he's gone. There is no surprise this week. Neither Taylor or Brittany will go home. It all depends on the veto. Okay. Wednesday's episode is incredibly important. And of course, the information about the veto and the veto competition itself will come out much sooner before Wednesday. But, and maybe it's out now. Maybe I'm a dinosaur here. But I'll say this. If Michael is neither picked for the veto or wins the veto, he's gone. And it's going to be the biggest, man, this will be the biggest exit by far this season. If Michael goes home, the game is wide open. You know, both of my picks will be out the game. As you know, Pooch was my first pick. Michael was my second. If Michael leaves, I will sit back. I'm going to put my hands on my head. I'm going to watch the game and enjoy it. Because right now, I'm still pulling for Michael to win this game. All right. But if that happens, it's over. If Michael leaves, or I should say, if he doesn't get picked for the veto, nor wins the veto, he's gone. All right. He's out of here. All right. I'm over here looking at the comments here. What's up, Wade Campbell? Hello. What's up? What's up? What's up? All right, who's on the block? I missed the show tonight. So Way, who's on the block? I hope you just heard me, but if you didn't, Taylor and Brittany are on the block via Turner's hand. And that is the theme of this episode. Are you okay with Turner? Because listen, what's happening is a conflict of interest. People who love Taylor probably also love Turner. And Turner has made a heel turn. He's become evil. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but he certainly changed the dynamics of his game. He's certainly not the Turner of yesterday. He has put on his spiked jacket, and I would make the argument that Turner is done playing nice guy. Okay, so he puts up Brittany and Taylor on the block, and he uses the guise of Joseph being the individual, the whistleblower who exposes that hidden alliance that Michael, Brittany, and Taylor made a long time ago. So, you know, take what you will from that. I think I've expressed how I feel about it. It's very conflicting. I'm happy he's making moves, kind of like Kyle's move. On one hand, I'm happy that he's playing the game. This is when people say season 24, no one played the game. I don't know if you can still say that now. I feel like people are playing the game. And I think if you respect the game of BB, you respect that particular sentiment. They're playing the game now. And Kyle, dare I say, made the first gameplay move that I can respect. I mean, before Kyle made that move, we had what was the real storylines? It was bullying and vengeance for the bullying. That was the entire timeline and storyline of BB until Kyle made a real gameplay move. He played the game, and here we go. And I would argue that Turner has made the second real legitimate move. All right, Jason Lowe, Britton Taylor, Jason Lowe, say facts. I don't know what you said facts to, Jay, but you already know me and you see the game exactly the same. So nothing else needs to be said. But that's all I wanted to cover in this episode. I'm going to do one more episode where we take a look at Wednesday's episode and kind of break down what I think may take place. All right. But I really appreciate you amazing people for staying up. It's 11:36 on the East Coast, and you still rocking with your main man. So I have to say thank you, and I appreciate you very, very much. And I will see you in just a moment if you are still awake. If not, I understand. And I'll see you, I guess, Wednesday. Peace.